Hello, welcome to Purple and Gold Mines. Again, this is a different flavor of a video. In light of the Lakers versus Warriors, there is a point of discussion that I wanted to discuss, and again, it's mine, so it's not only myself, but again, it's the entire group here. We are with Solo Lopez. Thank you for joining us. He is actually a Warriors fan. Um, I don't know by how many years, Solo, but you can tell us soon. And we're also here with Zen and with Playoff. You know them. Yeah, Solo. Can you just make a brief a brief summary of just who you are, man?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I've been a Warriors fan all my life. Northern California born. First game I ever went to was at Oracle. The reason why I'm a Warriors fan is because I did not know until my first Raider game back in like 2009 that the Warriors and the Raiders played in the same parking lot. Basically, Oracle Arena was right
Oh,
there. And
Yep.
so when I went to the Coliseum for the first time, I looked over to the side when we were driving in. And I said, "What's that?" And it's like that's where the Warriors play. And I was like right there in the parking lot. It's like 25 feet away from the Coliseum. They're like, "Yeah, right there. That's Oracle." So I went to the Oracle literally like a year later, and watched my first Warriors game. But I my uncle is who got me into the Warriors. He taught me about Rick Barry, and then how good he was back in the day, and then taught me about Big O, and then everything like the old style of how they played the game. Like he loved the older style. He taught me about like Havlicek and like a lot of the old style players. But he was big into the Run TMC days. And so when he talked to me about Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond, that's kind of when it became like a thing for me. But it wasn't until like I realized that they played right there in the same parking lot as the Raiders is when I became like, okay, this is a cool thing. Like this is awesome. And then I just kind of just went from there. So.
oh, that's a good story, man. I mean, bro, people don't understand this, but I am not from Northern California. I am not born and raised in Northern California. I'm actually a Puerto Rican raised on an island for 30 years. Well, no, 24 years, and then yeah, it's just interesting. By the way, we got a late edition here. How's it going, KB? Uh,
What's happening, my guy?
Hey, what's up, KB?
What's up? What's up?
My bad.
We're just making some introductions, but yeah, it's just it's curious like how we meet. We're actually like we do host a Laker space. Basically, if you don't know what a space is, it's actually kind of like a only audio but conversational, you know, time or location in Twitter where you can just talk, listen, and we kind of host it from 10:55 a.m. In Pacific time. Sorry, it's late where I'm at because I'm actually not only am I Puerto Rican, not only am I a Laker fan, but I'm also East based, so it's rough to be a Laker fan. So yeah, I could have been a Wizards and just ended my season and just be done with it. So yeah, just like, but anyway, here for discussion. Appreciate everybody here, but let's get into it. The topic is Stephen Curry top 10, and
Whew.
here's the thing, and let me make this abundantly clear. These are four Laker fans and one Warrior fan. I will try my best to be objective because again, I am since I started all of this, it's been a learning experience if I'm being totally honest. Like I've expanded a lot of what I know just hearing everybody, looking at film, looking also just that shit like just looking at more games and honestly kind of like a refresher. But if I'm being honest, and here we can go into it. I'll start with this list, and then we can go down. Um, I have Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kareem as top three. Does anybody have something different from that? Oh shit.
No, I don't.
Okay, KB, do you have something different?
Yeah, you're gonna laugh. You're just switching it around.
I'm not saying order. I'm just saying those three.
Top three. Yeah. So I was going by order. So no. So they're the
No,
same players. Okay.
yeah. You can debate, but those
Gotcha.
three just leave it to the side because we're focusing probably from 4 to 10.
Gotcha.
All right, then I have Magic, Kobe, and Wilt. All right. Does anybody have something different from that point on?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Solo. Well, let's start. Let's just say it. Where do you have? Do you have Steph near the top 10, top 5? Then
Yes, I do. I think Steph
okay,
Curry. I think Steph Curry is a Mount Rushmore basketball player.
top 5,
Top four.
top
Top
4.
four. Yeah. Once you said Mount Rushmore, that's top 4.
hmm
Yeah.
I think
So
that I don't think that he
above
can do it.
Kobe.
I don't think that he can do enough for the rest of the time in his career to catch Jordan, LeBron, or Kareem. But I think he's done enough right now in terms of not only his resume, the accolades, and so far how far ahead of he is with his primary skill over the rest of the NBA history, and probably for the rest of all time for what he's done, as in the all three levels of basketball, where how transformative his game has been for NBA. It will never be played the way it was played before Steph Curry stepped on the court of basketball again. It will never ever be played that way again. And if you had only that, it would be indicative of how great he was. But then you add everything else that he's done up to this point and is still currently doing. And I think that he's a Mount Rushmore basketball player, 100%.
I mean, we respect takes. I think playoff and maybe KB is about to log off, but
Totally okay. Like I get it. I believe that I am going to be early with this, but once it's all said and done, statistically, resume wise, obviously revolutionizing basketball the way nobody else ever has in the history of the NBA. It will be. Steph Curry is to basketball what I would say Sonny Jurgensen is to football, with the deep pass. He revolutionized the entire game, and it was never played the same again, and it won't be played anyway. The way the game is played from now until the end of time will be the way that Steph Curry changed it into playing, and it's just that nobody else in NBA history and almost nobody in sports can say that about the league and the sport that they played in.
well,
If
I
it was.
mean, so continue. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, and all the statistics. Obviously, we know what 5-out basketball is now, with 1 to 5 being able to shoot the three. Obviously, we know what the way the game is played now with the rotations on the perimeter. But if you just look statistically, it's so drastic of a change from like 2007 to just last year. The way teams, how many 3-point attempts per game have gone up just from then. The attacking the rim is different. The kickouts are different. The assist to 3-point ratio is different. They changed the game, or he changed the game from a mid-range game and a big man game to the perimeter. And like I said, it will never be played that way again. Like the Suns are the best mid-range jump shooting team ever, and they're probably not going to win more than 2 games in the playoffs. When you have the premier point forward, scoring forward in the history of basketball, who could pretty much score anywhere, primarily from the mid-range, and then one of the best mid-range jump shooters we've seen in a long time, and probably going to go down as one of the best ever in Devin Booker, and it means nothing because the Nuggets are just going to run them off the floor with their perimeter play, and with being able to kick out to the perimeter and hit the threes, and with their team being able to shoot 8-9 deep from the 3-ball. And that is because Steph Curry came onto the court and realized that he could score as much and as well as he did, and people could not stop him. And that's why I have him as a Mount Rushmore athlete. It's his deliverance of greatness to by himself individually, his accomplishments as a basketball player, but his revolutionizing the game is what makes me put there. And I think I'm early, and I think that's fine. I'm going to defend it to where I think I'm early, but when he steps off the court, I don't think it's going to be any question.
Okay, so but regardless, like even if you're early, like all right, let's put a pause on that because I kind of want to hear the room and hear what they have. Let's start with playoff. Playoff, do you have something different from what I said, or like where do you put Curry? Is he in your top 10? Is he not? And we can go from there.
Yeah, he's definitely not in my top five. And I
Yeah,
think he's on the cusp. I feel like there are conversations you can have because the thing about it is if you put him in the top 10, who are you taking out of it?
gotcha.
And I pulled up on ESPN and this is um
Yeah.
I'll give you the order. So they got Shaq at 10, Kobe at 9, um, Tim Duncan at 8. Let's see, Larry Bird at 7. Sorry.
I have Bill Russell at 7.
Okay.
Larry Bird at 8.
They have
Will,
Will at 6,
Will at 6. Yeah.
Magic at 5, Bill Russell at 4, Kareem at 3,
Oh, okay. So
and
that's where it
then
changes.
and this came out a couple years ago. I think this came out in
Yeah.
2020 maybe.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
LeBron and MJ. And so Steph is an incredible player. Like Solo said, I think he's revolutionized the game. And in my mind, sometimes to a detriment. And the reason why I say that is I think we've seen plenty of times where you'll have a 2-on-1 fast break and you'll see one person float out to the 3-point line. And instead of taking the two, you'll have the players, pass the ball out to the 3-point shooter, and it ends up being an empty possession because they missed the shot. Like Steph is an incredible player, but I think he's also a one-of-one player as well. And now you have all these other players taking, ill-advised 3-point shots. I do, you can't take anything away from him. When you factor in the number of final MVPs that he has, I think that can skew the conversation based on who you're comparing him against. But I think there is a conversation to be had. It would be, I would have him, if I were to move someone out, it would have to be like, he'd be on the cusp, like 9 or 10, maybe.
9 or 10. So yeah, like that's where I'm at. Like I kind of can't, like I don't want to move Bill, or Larry, because I feel like they're all time greats in their era. Like an all time 10 has to encompass kind of like also certain eras. Like not every era, not every decade, but like I kind of get Silla's point to say like the era kind of started with the face of Curry to say like he changed the game where now you're valuing the analytics where 3 is better than a 2.
Yeah.
And this perception of that Curry kind of helped change it. Zen, your dogs.
Yeah, sorry about that. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But that's so the perception of that. So that perception was helped by Curry. Like having Curry be that, because there is no doubt in my mind he is the greatest shooter the league has ever seen. Like that's just, I think everybody can agree with that.
For sure.
Even if we're bleeding purple and gold, like hands down, like if you want a 3-point shot, no matter like from the logo and shit, even from the what's this trick shot like in the tunnel or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like from the second deck, like 60 feet away.
Come on,
and that's not front facing either. That's from the sideline, so he's not hitting backboard or anything.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, come on, like that's kind of like inhuman.
It's stupid. I've seen it in person. It's ridiculous. It's you can't even fathom how long the ball's in the air to be able to make a shot like that, and he just does it every home game.
Yeah. Like when you have players like LeBron James says, like, yeah, we have to guard him since he gets in the parking lot. Like that's basically like that's encompassing of how great Curry is. Like we don't want to be disrespectful, and believe me, I'm burning inside. But
yeah, this is a weird conversation to have on the eve of the Lakers Warriors series.
It is. But hey,
you got to really temper some emotions here to have this type of series.
Yeah. But hey, defining because I'm gonna throw a curveball soon. But anyway, KB, do you have something different from playoff? Do you agree with him? Do you agree with Zillow?
For top
What's
10.
I mean, top 10, just Curry. Where do you rank him? Where do you have him? Where do you want him to
He's
be? I guess
not in my top 10, but he's definitely right there at 11.
11. Okay.
But let's say if he does win the chip this year, that'll change.
Yeah, and there is something that I want to contend with Solo soon. But all right, that's good to know, KB. That's good to know. Zen, are the dogs tamed? Have they had their edibles? Can you talk?
We'll see. Look,
Yeah.
my top 10. Let me go through it again. Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Russell, Duncan, Kobe, Wilt, Bird, Curry. Um, when it comes to Curry, like first name that I was surprised that I did not include was Shaq. But
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
but I will say with Shaq is that look, I have him down as the fourth best center ever. Um, I would even say that Shaq probably has the best 3-year stretch of any player in the NBA. But he also played 19. So if we're looking at full body of work,
Okay.
it's like okay, like his Orlando years, up until what with Shaq, up until his first season with the Miami Heat.
Hmm.
Like okay, he was cool. Like Shaq, like he started to decline when he got to the Heat. First year, he was still great with the Heat, but from that title season, the last 7 seasons, he was a shell of himself. But the thing with Curry,
Yeah.
right? The thing with Curry is that I look at the list, and I look at when I look at my list, I look at the impact each of these players had on the game, and the only okay, Duncan is the only power forward to be the best player on a championship team. Okay. Karl Malone never did it. So
Oh,
Duncan dominated from the power forward position that it was never done before, hasn't been done since. Um,
Unless you count Giannis as a power forward, which some people do.
unless I
Ye-
count who?
Giannis.
LeBron.
Unless you
Giannis.
count
No,
Giannis as a
Giannis.
power
Okay,
forward.
okay. So Duncan was the first person to be the best player on the championship team, best power forward on the championship team. So he was the first. Um, Wilt, Evan said it earlier when we were talking in the watch along, like those video game numbers, and yeah, from assists, rebounds, points, those numbers will never be duplicated. So you got to give it to him there. He was well rounded, especially with the assists, which I forgot about.
Yeah.
Um, the
Hmm.
thing, going to Curry, it's just that if you want to break this down from to like the simplest metric with basketball, you win the game by putting the ball in the hoop, right? Putting the
Yep.
ball in the hoop, scoring more points than the other team, and you score
Hmm.
points by
Yep.
putting the ball in the hoop. He is the best person at putting the ball in the hoop.
Damn right
So
there.
it's something that it can't get. It's like when you put it in such layman's terms, it's like it can't get minimized. And then he's normalized the 3 pointer. He's normalized difficult shots. Um, when it comes to shooting, it's like he can do a step back, he can just pull up, he can run, he can go off the dribble, he can run around the screen. I think he's underrated as a ball handler. Um, yeah, he's an amazing player. He's been the best player on on what 2 championship teams so far. He's won a total of 4. Um, he's won 2 MVPs, right? He's won 2 MVPs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's won 2 MVPs.
And one unanimous MVP. He's the only
Yep,
unanimous
he's the
MVP.
first person to be unanimous. Which Shaq got screwed with that in 2000. But
don't
I
even make me think about that again.
yeah, I digress. But you know what? Look, the thing with Curry is that I think folks will probably have a better appreciation for him
Wait,
if he what
what happened in 2000?
Shaq.
uh
Shaq, you got
Shaq
snubbed. You got snooped.
Shaq won MVP, but one person, everyone voted
Oh,
for Shaq for MVP except one person voted for Iverson.
yeah, that's when he got the Finals MVP, the All Star MVP, and
Yeah, he
the
got
League
everything. He got
MVP.
the regular
Yeah,
season, but one person didn't vote for him, and he would have been unanimous. And this is when it was clear Shaq was just this is his best season. This is when he was just ripping through the league
yeah,
and
yeah,
what.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know with Curry, he's the best shooter, and even if he's not good at anything else, being the greatest shooter is such a huge accomplishment. I think his impact on the game to change the game the way he did. One of the things about Jordan is that he was like he dominated the game from a guard position. Um, and I'm not saying Curry did it as much he dominated from a guard position as much as Jordan. I'm not saying that, but for what he's done to the with the game, how he's changed the game, and just how he's desensitized the 3-pointer. I gotta say he's a top 10 player. And then also, I know I'm gonna get some heat for this, but LeBron has 4 rings in 20 years. Steph has 4 rings in what, 14 or 15?
Yeah,
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, there's context to that though.
There's tons of context. Look,
Yeah,
tons
I
of
don't want to.
context. There's tons of context, but
There's not too much context. There is a truckload of context.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
See, that's what I'm
a
saying. We're
lot
gonna
of
keep it. No,
context.
we're gonna keep it neutral because
Like I am
no.
I'm going to insert basically that Jurassic Park where like the first movie where he's seeing like that big ass pile of shit. Like that is the amount of context
Yeah,
that would have to put to that. And I'm sorry.
that's Jurassic Park 3, folks. If you didn't know.
Yeah, bro. Like
And we don't have to go down that road. I was just saying, like, there's,
Yeah,
no,
there's
no,
context to it, but
yeah.
I'm just saying there's an argument that can be made about that. But hey,
Mhm.
hey,
I mean,
Well-
it is what it is. Like you're defined. You're defined. I mean, he's 4-6 in the final.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
done his thing. He did his
think
thing.
I think the problem with that is that we're all going to have the context now,
Mhm.
but we have to view this through the lens of what people are going to look back on back in the day, or later
Yeah.
from now. Like we look like people today look at Jerry West and be like, wow, he lost 9 finals and only won 1.
Yeah,
Like that's crazy. Like how could you ever consider him the logo? Why is he like a great player? And then you go look and you break it down on why he was so great and what he did that was so great in his time and against his contemporaries and then you kind of understand but a lot of people will box score watch that and be like, yeah, I mean he was good, I guess, but they don't. That's where the respect factor comes into it. It's like 9 straight finals for one player in the modern contemporary era of NBA. It's unfathomable. It's like I have this saying that I like to say that I've said a couple years ago, and it's kind of just been because me personally, like full disclosure, I think LeBron is the greatest player to ever play the game. I just do. He's number 1 on my list. There's nobody else that's been able to do what he's been able to do in terms of carrying the teams that he's carried. His performances that he's been able to. I think the 2016 finals is the greatest finals performance of any player ever. To lead to lead a 73-9 team. Back from down 3-1, and then lead the entire 7-game series in points, steals, rebounds, blocks, and assists it's against the unanimous MVP and one of the greatest teams, offensive teams ever. He literally stopped the Warriors from becoming the greatest team of all time by his performance. And Kyrie was great, don't get me wrong, but Kyrie ain't done nothing without LeBron. And so it is LeBron. LeBron is the engine. He's that. And so, but when they look back on that, it won't be it'll be like, oh my God, he's like 4-6. I can't believe it. Like he has 6 losses. Like, how do you do that? And that's when the argument took over. That was part of the problem. It's that it was being spearheaded by basketball analysts that were just out there to get hot takes. And they've transformed the narrative into ring culture, 1, and 2, to look at a guy's finals record and be like, well, that's just the way it is. He sucks because he's 4-6. When you have to look at the grand scope of everything that went down, and context is going to be a lost nuance here pretty soon, because it's just being taken over completely by not so much analytics, but by hot take culture.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we face in basketball world is that.
Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith are probably the worst things to happen to.
They made their career.
They have damaged basketball culture to a degree that we'll probably never get back, and it sucks because it's such a beautiful game and it's so pure to see players like that. It didn't become ring culture until it became, well, KD made the weakest move I've ever seen, and this guy is just embarrassing. He's so shitty out there. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you guys are nobodies. You guys are literal nobodies.
Yeah. Yeah, the narrative, pushing narratives and doing things for ratings, and it's gotten really nasty.
Just take a look at basketball Twitter today with James Harden's performance. I don't know how many retweets I've gotten that said, "Oh, well, this is better than Steph Curry's performance the other night."
Yeah,
and it's like that's the hot take culture. It's like, was it though?
And worse than that.
And it's like it's bad. It's like it's crazy to be like, we already have to discredit one player in order to prop another. And I said it before the game ended. I said if he pulls this off, this will automatically be James Harden's best playoff performance in his entire career. Flat out. This is the best one because he's had a bevy of stinkers, a bevy of choke artists, the towel over the head against the Spurs, over 27 against the Warriors. Like, he's had some bad performances in the playoffs. This is the best playoff performance I think he's ever had in a game. Without Joel Embiid and making the game winner, having 45 in their house in the second round of playoffs. And so, like, I appreciate that in a vacuum. I don't need to say that was the best performance by far than Steph Curry's performance or Jimmy Butler in round 1 against Milwaukee. It's like it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't. Like, it just really doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
man. That's
all
a good
right.
point.
That is a good point. And to that point also, like, I just wanted to add this because like today, even in Twitter, and if you're watching this and you're like, why are these people talking about Twitter? By all means, do not go there. It's not worth it. It's like a drug where if you start it, it's hard to get rid of. And if you're in that point, seek help and uninstall. I'm just saying.
Seek help.
So, but because the toxicity is sometimes way out of proportion, it's not like it is not the same. However, there are some great people, as you can see. So, give or take. But there is one thing that I did wanted to discuss, or at least that's and Solo kind of added the segue here. Before and we're gonna come back to the Curry, so don't worry. Wardell is not gonna go anywhere. But if Curry wins this series and ends up winning a championship, does that damage LeBron James' legacy?
No way.
No.
Exactly.
No, I don't think so. No, not at all.
Are we all in agreement on that?
Yeah, I don't. You can't. LeBron has 4 Hall of Fame careers. You just it's his legacy right now is bulletproof.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that can happen to LeBron as far as performance goes, or wins and losses that can have any type of impact on where he stands from a historical perspective.
And I say that because that and Zen, are you in agreement or are you going to stay quiet? Just wanted to verify.
I think the dogs are barking.
Dogs are barking. If I'm being totally honest, like when I heard that today, I'm like, wait, what are we doing here? Like,
yep.
And literally the narrative was 5/4 greatest ever, GOAT. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not for that because I'm not in this position of discounting a player to prop another or things like that. And like the body of work that that LeBron has speaks for itself, regardless of the outcome of the series.
Exactly.
So just wanted to put that out there because that is one narrative where, and I'm probably gonna tweet that later. Like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, what are we really doing here? Like,
Good luck.
I
You'll
mean,
get a
that's
lot of
just like.
stands. Yeah.
Go ahead, KB.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I was like, you're just gonna get a lot of stands that literally like try to pretty much say you're wrong or it's all about
Mhm.
LeBron.
I mean,
and
it's fine, but that's the media is gonna prop it, and that's where
Mhm.
it kind of sucks because it's kind of like, okay, here's the thing: you're propping a 38-year-old, which he's out of injury. He's not the same that started the season. Like he has changed his game.
Yep.
He's not at his peak performance, and you're gonna prop him to somebody who's also gone through injury, but has shown that he can hit a peak. Again, 50 piece on a game 7 is no joke or nothing to sneeze at. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
saying,
it's never been done before. It's literally never been done before.
exactly. So again, there is something where you say 1v1, you're gonna have fans say no, LeBron's gonna cook Curry, this and that, and I'm like, you can't look at it that way. You gotta have to look at it as a team perspective. Like you kind of have to look at it like, because Curry's gonna do his thing. Can Poole, can Clay, can everybody come to play? And then Warriors come to play, and can the Lakers AD and everybody else step up and help LeBron? Because
Yep.
last time I checked, there's 5 players on the court, not one. So just saying, like this narrative driven or the media, don't hear it. It's entertaining for those who just don't follow the game or doesn't have love for it. Like I think we all do. And if you do that, don't go through that. At least that's my opinion. If you disagree, please comment below. Shit, I've been called that this is engagement, so whatever. Um, one thing, one thing I wanted to touch back on is Solo. You said top 4, so Mount Rushmore, Curry. So I'm looking at number 4 in my list is Kobe Bryant. Take out the evolution or the face of what he did in terms of changing basketball. Can you take that out and put him in top 4? Or is that what propels him to top 4?
I think that's what propels him into the top 4. I think that his resume alone, if you were just to take that, makes him a top 10 player of all time. But I think the way he revolutionized the game and the way it's played from now or from here, from college, high school, AAU, junior, whatever you want to say, it's all modeled after the way he played after he stepped on the court versus before he stepped on the court. And that's why I think that impact on the game is greater than any one player has ever had, and that includes Michael Jordan.
So, and to that point, and I want to, this may be a counter, but are we kind of disrespecting Tim Duncan to have him 9th or 10th?
To have Duncan 10th?
Just saying, because to a certain extent,
I have him 9th. I have him 9th.
You have a 9th because I'm just saying to that degree, like, because if you add that part about the evolution because we're seeing it right now, half players in that list done something similar, where they're in that era, they kind of revolutionized the game, like they are the face of, that period of time. So, for instance, Shaq kind of changed the game in the 2000s, or at least it was a short period, but basically the physicality, you every other team had a big. If they don't have a big, they can't win a championship. That was the thinking back then. Now,
but I would say that that's not because of Shaq, though. I mean, the league was built around bigs before Michael Jordan. So in the 90s, it was still very prevalent that you had to have a big. You had Hakeem in the 90s, Karl Malone, Barkley was a big, considered a big. Shaq, you had all these guys that were still there. The great bigs of the modern era were all in the 90s. So, Shaq was drafted in 96, right? Or 93.
93.
93.
Ooh,
Yeah, so he's drafted in 93. So that was the era of the big. So I wouldn't say that he changed that for the NBA.
Point taken. Yeah, because then it was when did Rockets win? Shit, man, I
94,
Wasn't that
95.
94,
94,
95. Yeah, yeah, that
I was
was
like, oh,
yeah. It was then Rocket. Yeah, so yeah, so wouldn't that also be the case for Curry though? Because the NBA kind of gave way for Curry to basically flourish to a certain extent. Like now you're having guard like rather than shifting to a center power forward, now you're changing the game to be more of a guard heavy league or a
Mhm.
wing driven or whatever you want to call it. But it's to send like basically the changes to the game, the how they call the game, everything to that point is driven to basically protect and kind of engage on shooting rather than on defense, if anything else. Like rather than physicality, they kind of took out the physicality and basically added just pure shooting. Like, does that account for anything as well?
No, because the league, I don't think the league like changed to accommodate Steph Curry. I think he forced the league to accommodate, and I think that's the difference. Is that nobody believed in the Warriors in 2015 when they won 67 games or 66 games or whatever it was. Like when they had the best record in the NBA, it was like, oh, this is just a jump shooting team. I mean, it's the famous quote that, well, you can't win a championship as a jump shooting team. You just can't.
Mm.
And then they did, and then they kept winning, and now we've seen the fruits of that. I think they forced their will on the league by being able to have the two of the best shooters of all time to be able to play the perimeter and not have to play through a big. The great change from what really sparked the differences in, besides the motion basketball, which is another thing that you see a lot more of because of the way the Warriors play basketball. The motion off ball, with Curry not really being the ball handler, because what happened was they made the change of bigs. They went with a ball handling point forward who could pass and run the half court offense in Draymond Green. And that really unlocked the motion offense and forced the defenses to have to accommodate not being able to understand why Steph Curry is not running the ball up anymore. The Mark Jackson offense was ball stopping. That was basically they had a lot of ball stopping, a lot of stand around, a lot of do nothing. Curry introduced the motion offense and took Curry off the ball. And then when you take Curry off the ball and run him off, that forced the league to have to adapt their game. And then when you have the ability to shoot the way they did when you need to split second, it changed that. And I think that if the league had not accommodated in that way, or acclimated, I say is a better word, not accommodated, but acclimated to that style of play, I think the Warriors would have a lot more rings than they do now. I think Curry and his presence and his gravity and his ability to run off ball and the way he can shoot and the volume at which they shoot in their offense was more of like, you either keep up or you're going to get run over.
Right.
I think
And then
I think the last great team of the previous style of play was the Mavericks when they beat LeBron. I think that was the last way you were going to win that style of play, the old style of play. It would have been Kobe, it would have been Kobe and the back to back if it hadn't been Dallas beating LeBron in the Heat. I think, but that was like the last time that you could run that style before the league just completely changed and did a 180 into how it was played and how consistent winning was starting. And another big part of that, it's not just Steph Curry. He's the stepping stone. He's the monolith of this. But you have Mike D'Antoni and the Rockets. You have Mike D'Antoni and the Suns, first of all, how they ran with pace and they ran with motion and pace. And then the adoption of that style to run with the motion offense in Golden State is what really transformed and helped transform the league. So I wanted to give credit to Mike D'Antoni and the Suns as well. They just had a natural point guard that was just on ball all the time, creating and an assist, monster with Steve Nash. Whereas Steph Curry, who can pass, was more of the I can score anywhere I want to, and if I run off ball, I'm going to be able to get better looks.
And to that point, that was the question that I was asking on Twitter was, do you consider because of the offense style that you're running, basically like Curry is just this scorer, but at the same time he's not the facilitator, but it's just because of the style of offense that you're incorporating. So to a certain extent, like they basically the Warriors kind of introduced the basketball to a certain extent. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
because
small ball 5. Yeah,
because
They
I
introduced
don't
small
know,
ball.
because when you say top, like, who's your top 10 point guards, and I'm like, is Steph Curry a point guard? And I look at the list, and I'm like, I don't know. And like, and then I have to say, like, rather than saying point guard, like, who's the top 10 in assists, rather than just classify it that way, because for me, a point guard is synonymous to assist, or you evaluate him through assist, playmaking, and other stuff. But now, with how things have changed, it's kind of like, forget about that. You're focusing now on just the offense that you're running. Like, it's very, like, the Warriors kind of mucked up everything. I'm being honest. So
Yeah.
they really mucked up
Yeah, because
everything,
if you
because
think of it
yeah,
from the issue of just assists out there, then Draymond's your point guard, or LeBron is the point guard. If
yeah,
you think of it from who brings the ball up, then you could say Jokic is the point guard because he brings the ball up a lot, or
Man.
you can say, you can say Luka is a point guard. A lot of people think Luka's a guard, obviously too, like a two guard.
yeah.
But I mean, he's the primary ball handler. He's going to lead the Mavericks in assists more times than not. So you have these different styles of, like, Ben Simmons could be the bring up ball handler, and he's like, I wouldn't say he's is he a 6'11", point guard? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, but it's like, yeah, you hit it kind of on the head. Is that what you define as that? Now, if we're just speaking strictly as positions, that's what he is. He's a point guard. He's drafted as a point guard. He's listed as a point guard in college. He's listed as a point guard in the NBA. That's what he was drafted as. That's what his position is. He is a point guard, but he is not the traditional, I'm bringing the ball up, I'm running the half court offense point guard, because he can do so much more than that. If he was just that, he wouldn't be in the top 10. He wouldn't be in the top 4, in my top 4. He wouldn't be the player that he is today if it was just strictly limited to that. And that's why the evolution from Jackson to Kerr doesn't get enough credit, because I think he recognized what he had in the motion offense that works so well.
And that's kind of like the argument, and even me, like, that's where I'm like, this is not on. Okay, let me preface this with some sort of respect. Curry made, like, Curry's the lynch, like the kingpin. Like, he is basically the first Shane of the Shane reaction. Like, if it wasn't for him, that offense doesn't work. Just being honest. But at the same time, Curry having that perfect storm, because you drafted Draymond, you drafted Clay, you got Curry, then you get Kerr, which basically unlocks the entire offense. Like, it's just, you don't, and now every other team in the NBA is trying to mimic what you guys are doing, and sometimes it looks like it's the Kirkland or the great value of what the Warrior system is running, and they're trying to draft the next Curry, they're trying to draft the next Clay, they're trying to build this team that's similar, but
Looking at you, Memphis.
uh,
Shots fired.
Memphis tried, but
we
failed.
had a eulogy on them. A very good eulogy by Zen.
Just played
yeah.
Boys the Men for them.
Yeah.
Oh
The
God.
state.
It was brutal. But yeah, well, the Teddy Bears have that model, and they're trying to get it, but at the same time, that's why I'm like, LeBron kind of forced a certain play style, a certain way for a certain team. Like, basically, you constructed a team to fit LeBron. In this case, Steph just, his incorporation to that system was all natural. Like, it's something that I think for the first time in a long time in the NBA, you saw it and you're like, how do you even, because there's a counter here, there's a counter there. Like, if you trap Curry, hey, you got rollers. If you do this, like, there's a lot of counters to that offense, and it's right now, time of this recording, they are the number one offense in the league. If I'm not mistaken, Zello, you can correct me.
That's what makes this series so
interesting. And for Lakers fan to talk about Curry, it's a little distasteful, but at the same time, we're trying to be respectful. And because the conversation was, because even when after the 50-pointer, it's like, oh, he's a top 10. Right. And we did a poor job because we got a guest that says that he's a top 4. Forget about top 10. So thank you, Zen. But at the, but at this,
that's not Zen.
huh?
That wasn't Zen.
Who was? Oh, that was you.
Do I look like I laugh like that? What the?
No. I'm just saying that Zen was the one that contacted Solo. So I'm like,
Oh, he did.
yeah.
I'm respecting that.
But no, Solo, you do bring up good points. I do disagree with you. Like, I still have Kobe as the number 4, if not 3, depending on how I feel in the day. Because sometimes these top 10 debates kind of is by an opinion and perspective. And honestly, when you put that where he changed the league, that's a metric where nobody's really using, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, I know that there are a lot of fans are using it, and I know that a lot of people are using it, and maybe it's justified. But I just wanted to get a grasp as to why certain people put him in the top 10. And to Zen's point, like, even to Shaq, he was dominant, but the body of work, that's probably the first argument that I've heard with Shaq, because I have Shaq in my top 10, but at the same time, like, you know, Shaq, Curry, like,
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
you can have a conversation about it.
We can have a conversation about that, because it is like the level of impact that like he, like, and Zen said it, like, a 3-year stretch that was just unstoppable. But at the same time, when you say Curry, like 2014 onwards, like, and it's still ticking, like, that's a larger sample size. So
It's also unprecedented what he's doing at 35. Like, there are things that are going on the resume that we've just never seen before in a player. I mean, obviously we just saw it 2 nights ago. It's just things like that.
50.
We just saw it in the finals last year against Boston. For 4.5 straight months, it was Boston is statistically the best defense we've ever seen ever in terms of their efficiency versus their opponents, the total defensive rating. The statistical analysis had them as the greatest defense ever, and Steph Curry walked into those buildings, beat them 3 times on their home floor, including 43 in the Garden at Game 4, to put that series back into perspective for them, and averaged over 30 against them, and absolutely decimated their team. He killed their drop coverage, he killed their box and one, he killed their blitz. You could not do anything with like, I would say, elite defenders, because they had the defensive player of the year. Now, granted, I don't think he should have won the award that year, but that's what they're going to look back on. That series was against Marcus Smart. I thought you could have had Jason Tatum on him, which would have been a better matchup, because, like, you guys disagreed earlier today when I said you need length and athleticism. I thought that's the only way you can really, like, have a chance of slowing him down, by forcing him to move further left and right to try to get a shot off and exert more energy on that. Nobody's going to stop him, but like, in that regard, in that sense right there, it's like, now nobody's ever going to look back on that and be like, well, that was not, yeah, sure, statistically, quote unquote, they were the greatest defense of all time. That's how it's going to be perceived now, because that's the Curry effect. That's what happened. He went in there and he absolutely thrashed them, came back down from 2-1, destroyed him in Game 4, and then came back and finished him off with an amazing Game 6 performance in Boston again to win, Finals MVP. It's like, nobody will ever look at the Kings being like, well, they on paper, that's the greatest offense in the history of basketball. Their offensive rating, sure, okay, on paper, Boston was the greatest defense of all time, but he has notches now over both of those teams. Now, does that count? Will it count in the long run? Will the narrative change now because of how they accomplished it? I mean, that's things that I take into consideration when I do my evaluations on this, because I try to look at what the narrative was before and what the narrative is after. And it seems to change a lot with players like LeBron and Steph in the Twitterverse now, and in the social media sphere of how basketball analysis is done. You try to look at the stories before that and after. Nobody probably even knows that Boston was the best, statistical defense analysis-wise of all time. But that's what they were going into that final series. They had the defensive player of the year. Their defensive rating was super low. They had length. They could guard from 1 to 5. And they couldn't do anything with Steph Curry. They just couldn't.
Yeah, and the thing, I'll be honest, that series was probably the worst. Like, that was a bad year for us Laker fans, because we were like, fuck Boston, but shit, Warriors.
It didn't
like,
feel so good watching the Warriors win either.
No, it was horrible, because it's like, what are we doing here? Like, like what is this product Silver. Like, what are you doing with this? But anyway, um, yeah, they were the statistical defensive. Like, I think they were the number one ranked. I remember that distinctively, and I
Yeah,
don't
ever.
think. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't really think it was more of their defense that let him down. It's the offense, like it just stalled out completely. Like I think it was the Jalen Brown show, but then Tatum really didn't show up. If I'm
Was
being
that the
honest,
year that Marcus Smart won the Defensive Player of the Year?
yeah,
Yeah, he won. He won
yeah,
Oh
last year.
man,
yeah.
they
Like
made him
they
look
had a great
stupid.
run through the playoffs. I think they had a couple of game sevens, but then like then they go into the finals, and then Tatum just stalls out. Like
Right.
he literally stalls out. Like
Yeah.
if you compare him to the play, like maybe you
Thank you,
credit
Andrew
Wiggins.
Wiggins.
Yeah, maybe you credit Wiggins. Maybe you
Well,
credit here. Like I don't know.
I mean,
Like
I mean, they just made, if anything, I mean, in that finals, just to make a long story short, Wiggins made Tatum have to work for everything, and Tatum wasn't about that. He wasn't about that life that series. As soon as Wiggins started putting the lockdown on him, Tatum couldn't do anything.
yeah,
Tatum's normally used to doing free range, whatever he wants. But when you're going against somebody who's defending like that, like Wiggins was defending him straight up, not even giving him space to move,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that's
man.
going to happen.
As
So,
good as he had been leading up to that series, he was
mhm.
bad,
He was
legitimately
not
bad.
great. That last second half of Game 6, and they in all those games were close.
Yep.
That's what made it such a magical
Yep.
series. Is that all those games were really close. I think Celtics had the lead in every game except Game 2 and that was it. I think Game 2 is the only game where they never had a lead.
So it was game one. They had it was Boston 120-108. Then it was
Yeah, Boston won Game 1 because they in the fourth quarter they hit like 13 threes. It was like they just
yeah,
couldn't miss.
And then you never seen him hot like that ever again.
No,
So,
that was.
yep.
I mean,
it's
you've
like
never
a
really
once in a
seen
lifetime
anybody
thing.
that hot. Even the Warriors. I've never seen.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, they were up by I think
That
18
was
at one point in
crazy.
that game. That was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. And I was like, okay, well, that worries me because getting a game like that, like, giving that away on your home floor. So yeah, but I mean, the equalizer as why he's so high on my list was again the unguardable guard Steph Curry. It was the
Yeah,
equalizer. There's
the
no
unguardable guard.
greater equalizer than his play because he's unguardable. He can take over, and his runs are the best runs offensively than over any player ever. When he gets hot like that, I don't know what you're supposed to do. Like, what are you supposed to do in that? You can't contend with it, and it breaks team spirits. You see it all the time in every playoff series. It's the reason why he's never been swept. It's the reason why he's never been gentleman swept. It's the reason why that with Kerr as head coach, they've never lost to a Western team in the playoffs. It's just he's the reason why, and that stuff matters when you're equating that into people's top tens and top all time. It's that the impact of one player is so much more greater than his contemporary and the second best player in the series that it goes far beyond. It gets into the Bird, the Magic territory, the Kareem territory, the LeBron territory, the Jordan territory. It gets that when you're so much better than the next player in the series and they can do literally nothing to stop it, that's when you get into that territory. And that's when you become, in the pantheon of great players of all time in any sport. It's like Patrick Mahomes. It's like Patrick Mahomes that when he gets in that zone, you can't do anything about it. There's just nothing you can do. He's that great. It's just nothing you can do, unfortunately.
See, so well, why you got to hit us with the double whammy? Okay, you
I
already
know,
know how
I
I go
know.
Damn,
when it
Hey,
comes to
I'm a Lakers
bro.
football.
fan. I've already accepted that he's going to win 4 Super Bowls minimum in our division. We're probably not going to win the division again for 2 decades. I know.
No.
I get it. It hurts, but realism hurts sometimes.
Again, these are two depressed Raiders fans.
The
So
frustrated fan.
Don't start, Tony. But look, getting back onto basketball.
yeah,
So he makes very good points. It's just like I said, he just confirms why I'm very worried with the Warriors. This is the best matchup we can have in this
Yep.
series. But then again, it's like it's put up or shut up. So it's like I get that Stephen Curry is the best shooter, but there's has to be ways to counter that. And if there's not, then we're literally screwed. So it's like we have with the Lakers against the Dubs. That's that's one of my we're
I
going
mean,
against the best 2 shooters of all time, bro. So it's like it's hard. It's
if
tough.
if I'm being honest, and this is probably and I know Sean Davis had, and if you don't follow Sean Davis, he does great work in Laker Nation. He's a good friend from like and the one thing, and everybody has a point. Everybody has said something, and today I've been most confused because I've had the energy of, and we're almost closing now, so bear with us. We asserted in this conversation that Curry is not top 10, but I'm joking. We'll leave that to be determined kind of category, if I'm being honest, because and I'll say this: you can't put a player if he hasn't finished his career, because then you have to evaluate his body of work completely. That's why LeBron James, to say he's number one, well, hey, he is, but once he finishes and you can really look back and be like, damn, is he number one? Is he number two? Like that's when you like when the curtains fall and you're like, this is the show, this is what I got, then you can really stack it up and be like, yeah. And right now Curry is making a case to be in the top 10, and let's see. But just wanted to say, with the game looming, and this video is going to drop in probably the day before. I mean, not the day before, the day of the game one. I think all eyes, in my opinion, are on Darvin Ham. Like, this is the one series where I'm like, you're not. This is not Jenkins. This is not. This is not
Ooh.
who was that Timberwolves guy? I don't know. Finch. This is not Finch.
Yeah.
It's not Finch. This ain't
Uh,
what's it called? Popovich, bro. This is
I
he from the
mean,
tree of Popoviches, but this ain't the Popovich, man.
and because Curry going for 40 doesn't scare me. What does scare me is, can our offense keep up? Because we've seen it stall out. We've seen it where Russell is clanking threes. We've seen it when LeBron is not there, and when AD has a
Look,
low mortar. So
I'm gonna
we've
let
been
playoff go with that because that's the frustration that.
yeah,
Oh my god.
and that is. But just wanted to go around the room.
Yep.
What do you expect for game one and your predictions? Let's go. Let's go to playoff. Then we'll
Yeah.
go to KB.
Oh,
Zen is still here. We'll go to Zen, and then we'll end it with Zoe and myself. So playoff. What do you think, man?
I think game one probably represents, because I think in order for, and I'm picking the Lakers to win the series, and I think in order the path to doing that is getting one of the first two games,
yes.
and I think game one probably represents their best chance of doing that, with Golden State having played on Sunday. You know, the game is obviously tomorrow, Tuesday. Yeah, I think, you know, like KD said, the offense has to rise to the occasion. I feel like I'm not really sure. I think I'm pretty confident that they're going to go with Draymond in the starting lineup. I think they have to. Um, and you know, don't get me wrong, Looney has a very underrated player, which I think a lot of people were put on notice in that King series how good he is defensively and his ability to rebound the ball as well. But I also think that AD is heads and tails, you know, a much better player than Sabonis. Um, it's going to come down to AD. AD has to be the best player on the Lakers, and D'Lo has to have an imprint on this series as well from the perimeter. Um, if those two rise to the occasion and play confidently, and I'm not talking about like doing it one game here, having a bad game the next game. Like they got to bring it every game in the series. I think the Lakers have a good shot, because I think we saw in that Memphis series, and don't get me wrong, Golden State's a completely different monster offensively, but I feel like when this Lakers team is locked in defensively, they can shut anybody's water off. And but it's being, and I think LeBron said it today, it's like you can't take, you have to be focused for the entire game. You can't let any mistakes happen, because they will make you pay. So
Yeah.
hoping they can pull off the win tomorrow night. But I think I feel like that's their best chance of getting one of those games in Golden State. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see. KB. Oh my goodness.
It's okay, KB.
This is what happens when a Laker fan lives in the Bay.
Oh my God! And I'm going to be in enemy territory tomorrow. So yeah. So when it comes down to it, this is how I look at it. This game's only going to end two ways. First way, which is the way that the Laker fans hope that they don't even want to hear me say. If the this is recording, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
If the
we've been there an hour here.
Lakers,
So,
okay,
yeah.
this is what I'm gonna say. Laker Nation, pay attention to me. If we try to run with the Dubs, we are going to lose. Understand me when I say this. We cannot run with the Warriors. We're not built like that. We don't got players like that. We can't do it. LeBron only has certain spurts. That's it. So, yeah. So running with the Warriors is not an option. That's one. If we play their game, we're going to lose by 15 to 25 points. Dead still. And I understand what LeBron says playoff, but half the time, sometimes he's one of the main people that's taking plays off that gets beat back doors. And you're smiling because you know I'm telling the truth. So that's one. So the second part is if we do what we're supposed to do and play our game and stay composed and actually see where the mismatches are, pin down screens, hit our free throws, get stops, beat the Warriors on the boards, we can win for game one and probably game two. Will that happen? We don't know. But my prediction for game one is, and I'm praying to God, that LeBron is engaged on the defensive end. I don't care if he's the GOAT. You cannot take plays off playing against the Warriors.
KB.
That's how much they scare me.
KB, let me ask you a question.
What's that?
Why do you think LeBron decided to come back and play versus having surgery on his foot?
Because he wanted the Dubs. I believe that he wanted the Dubs, and he believed that there was a major shot to play with a team that's probably one of the best teams he's ever had.
Mm-hmm. So
probably one of the second best teams.
Do you think LeBron understands as many big moments as he's played in?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he understands there's a difference between playing the Grizzlies and what he needs to do from a defensive perspective with the Grizzlies versus what he needs to do versus playing Golden State?
Let me ask this. Are you a fan of Boondocks?
Yes.
So let me go ahead and do the uncle look. So I know we're going to find out tomorrow, aren't we?
We're going to find out, yeah.
Okay, because if LeBron don't do it, I'm going to be the main one to hit up our chat line, and I'm going to come back and tell you what's LeBron doing.
I'll be the first one to say it. You know me.
Exactly. So, I mean, all in all, jokes aside, LeBron has the wheel. He definitely has everything, all the tools in the tool shed to do what he needs to do to finish the game. The question is, how is he going to pace himself? What kind of game are the Warriors going to make us try to dictate how we have to play? Because I honestly believe once we start seeing LeBron settle for jump shots, we're screwed. Like that's not a good plan for the Lakers. We know he's tired when he starts settling for shots.
I mean, if he makes them,
that's my biggest thing.
I mean, Tony, if he makes them,
Tony, when he's gassed,
he is not
make his shots.
He is not an 18% 3-point shooter. Like, no way.
Okay, I'm just saying. But look, Solo's probably smiling behind the camera saying,
"Yes, we want LeBron." At some point, he has to. There has to be. This is a quote from Trevor Lane, I guess, but regression to the mean. Like we kind of have to see that from LeBron at some point. Maybe this is the series. I don't know.
It better be the series. But yeah, I think Lakers can win game one if we dictate the game and play at our pace. So I'll end it there.
All right, cool. Zen, are you there, buddy?
I am here.
Oh wow. Okay. That was
He's been quiet for like the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, we've been conversing, and I'm like, well, Zen's probably asleep.
But yeah, I'm here.
Nah.
All right.
So I want to hear Zen. Yeah, I want to hear.
So yeah, what's your?
Nope, I'm right here.
No, okay.
Zen, what's your prediction?
Your prediction, buddy.
Oh, my prediction. Lakers in 7, game 1. I am I'm gonna say Lakers win. Lakers win by 7 for game 1.
I don't know about that. All right.
I was like, okay. Oh,
All right.
I ain't got no dog in that fight, man.
So let me guess. Warriors by 10.
No, I think the Lakers are going to sweep.
Wait, what?
I know you're capping on that. Yeah, there's no way.
No,
I'm not gonna lie.
uh,
I've been saying that. So yeah.
I think they'll split the home games. I think the Lakers can and probably will win game 2, but I think game 1 is going to be too much because I think LeBron. We've seen a lot of the series that LeBron does, and maybe he changes his philosophy here. But we've seen a lot of not passive LeBron, but on the playmaker very much. He tries to get his guys involved early in game 1s and 2s of series. It kind of has been a staple of his game in the playoffs. Now maybe that's going to be different in the finals because that's what I consider this type of series to be, a finals type series. Because I think losing to any other team in the playoffs other than the Warriors is not going to feel like a finals. But to the Warriors, I think it will be, just because there's so much drama in history and storyline tied to LeBron as the institution that he is versus the Warriors, his arch nemesis and, the reason why he's not the GOAT, basically. Or what people will hold against him, as much as I should say. But yeah, so I think game 1's going to be tough. If LeBron is passive and playmaker early and the role players don't show up, which I think is going to be tough in game 1 at Chase because role players always play worse on the road, that I think that the Warriors will win. The key to the series, I think, for the Lakers winning is to attack the basket as early and as often and as much as humanly possible. The Warriors are the worst free throw differential team, whereas the Lakers are the best free throw differential team. And it will show up in the series if they just attack the basket. The Warriors foul a lot. They send a lot of people to the free throw line, and the Lakers are really good at getting contact and really good at getting to the line. They're the best, in fact. To a certain degree, it's skill. To a certain degree, it's ticky-tack. To a certain degree, it's like what whistle is being called on which day and which crew. But at the same time, you have to take into account the differential of free throws. And it showed up in the Sacramento series. It's certainly going to show up in the Lakers series. So attacking the rim, if they get to there early and get people in foul trouble early, which kind of makes me think it's not going to happen in Chase as much in game 1. But that's going to be a key to if they want to steal one of the road games, as to how they can be effective attacking the rim versus the front court and versus the switches of the perimeter defenders.
See, I know I'm not the only one, bro. He just said it. If LeBron is, we can't look. The Lakers and LeBron cannot afford to have a feel game.
Yeah, feel
Like,
game.
no, you come out guns blazing and you try hard every single game. There's not a game. Oh, they have that. We'll get it back at home. No. If we can get both games in SF, you do that. You can't take games off.
For sure.
And don't underestimate Kevon Looney at any circumstance whatsoever.
I am
Domantas Sabonis is a better basketball player than Kevon Looney. I will freely admit that. He's a better skilled player. He's bigger and stronger. The difference is that Kevon Looney closes the gap with effort. 1,000% body positioning, getting in the way, getting physical, and being able to play make from the low post, which is a new wrinkle to his game. And AD can be head and shoulders above Kevon Looney, which he is. He's a better player, but effort in a certain game can not only close the gap between that, but can alter the way a game is impacted. And that's why Kevon Looney is so important. That's why he's one of the best centers in the basketball, because come playoff time, he alters games and with effort and with consistency. And that's been one of the weaknesses for AD is his consistent effort by being out there and the lulls that he might have, which he might take from LeBron because LeBron has lulls as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like AD historically raises his level of play in the playoffs. And I don't know. I think Sabonis kind of got exposed. He's a one-trick pony, and
he only goes left.
Is what it is.
Like he only goes left.
Look, this is all I'm gonna say. I'm just. Well, this is recorded, and I hate that people are probably gonna find me because this is my Twitter name, people. So if you haven't followed me, send me a follow. PMG or
Ah,
PGM, give us a follow. I'm telling you, if AD does not have that energy, he is our motor. So it's like, bro, like we can't.
The GoFundMe is
Yeah.
still available for those who
Oh
want to donate.
man, I can't believe we had that thing.
He was our best player in the first round. Stop playing with stop playing with his
Yeah.
name.
All right. So let's put a bow tie on this episode.
Let's do it.
It's so just wanted to ask a question. Who leads the league in steals?
Not AD.
Steph?
DeLon Wright.
The Knicks in this playoff stretch.
Oh, the team.
Oh, I thought you meant individually in the
Oh
regular
yeah, we thought you were
season.
talking
My
about a
bad.
player. I'm like, it definitely ain't AD.
Yeah, but second there is the Golden State Warriors.
Oh.
Who leads?
Handsy.
Yep, they are handsy. Like the one thing that they do is have a lot of the strip balls. They go into the passing lanes. So they are streaky. The one thing that is gonna be, and I think the X factor, not in terms of a player, but it's gonna be the turnovers. Because the one thing that we've seen consistently through the Warriors and the Lakers through the entire season, through the post, is just there's moments of like lackluster focus and dumbass plays.
Yeah.
Where they just ball handling, passing, just careless.
Hey, Tony, what kind of plays? What kind of plays?
I don't want to be demonetized because we're not monetized, but
bad plays.
Bad plays.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
just making sure.
It's boneheaded plays. We are technically ranked. We are. Let's put it this way: we are 15th. The Warriors are 13th in the 16 teams that made the playoffs. So,
yep.
Again, whoever takes care of the ball, whoever can get the rebounds, because the rebounds are going to be crucial. Because Looney is a monster on the defensive, offensive glass and defense. Like he will, what did he have last game? 21?
21 rebounds.
12 and a quarter.
Yeah, 3 different games he had 20 plus rebounds against the team.
20 plus.
That's crazy.
He
that's
averaged
why I'm not
15
sleeping on
15
no
and a half
player.
rebounds a game in the series.
And that's the thing. Like if I can see AD fight for it, where he's like limiting that, getting some of those rebounds. If our guards are crashing the boards, helping out, hey, gives us an opportunity. Again, the always the trump card that there's two things that the Warriors have that we don't, but we do, but it's really doubtful that are going to play.
Mm-hmm.
Warriors have Poole, who has basically not shown himself. Like, sorry, I'm a little congested, but Poole has been one of those factors where he's probably brought the other team back from, like he's been helping the other team.
Yeah,
he's been detrimental to the success of the Warriors.
That's a better way to say it.
Ill-advised shots and terrible turnovers.
I bet. Watch this. I bet you that just does not happen against us. It magically turns around to something else. Watch.
Because here's the thing: he's due, and if he's from the bench, and if he comes from the bench, who's gonna come from the bench? Like that's a Dennis assignment. That's a Troy assignment. Like, again, Troy has been horrible Zoe, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and it depends on what baddies you have in the stands. So I know there are going to be some baddies in Lakerland over there. So just be careful with that.
That's what be getting them in trouble trying to impress the baddies.
Oh boy, yeah, we're in for a series. We're in for a series.
Close this out, Tony?
Let's close this out. And the other factor was Clay, but honestly, the name that we haven't even mentioned, not even in spaces, is Austin Reeves. Like, let's see, man. Like, there's something about Austin that I have a feeling that Austin's going to be guarding Steph.
Bro.
And I know, and that's
going to keep me up tonight, to be honest, bro. Like that, I don't want that. I don't.
And you know why I say that though? And this is recorded. Like, props to Tim. Props to Tim Cranges. Props to Sean Davis. Props to there's like a whole host, and I've been like this morning, I just been hearing the podcast, hearing some things, and they don't say specifically, but that Grizzlies series, they were on point. Like it's like the coaching staff was like hearing them out. They were on point with what they were saying and what we saw on the floor. I'm just saying, if they say that there is a matchup to be had, that they're gonna put Steph, they're gonna put Austin on Steph and put Vando on Wiggins. I don't know about that, but hey, I'm psychologically prepared.
I personally, I like Vando playing on Wiggins, to be honest, because he's like an X factor for them. He plays off of Steph and Clay very well. He's able to get to his midi. I mean, he can get to the rim as well, and he can hit the three pretty, reliably too. And he doesn't have to score points to have an impact on the game either. So I think he's kind of a perfect like wing player for them in that system. And I feel like we've seen the impact Vando can have on the defensive end. So, like I said, Steph is going to get his shots up. Clay is going to get his shots up. It's just those other players and keeping them kind of pinned down, I think, is what's important.
And we didn't mention DiVincenzo, bro. He's one of their X factors as well. So.
Yeah.
Quality minutes. Like every time he comes off rotation on the floor, it's quality minutes. He makes the right plays. He makes the right passes. He gets to the perimeter on time. Like, that's a perfect addition for them.
Yeah, and GP2 also. GP2 is going to be interesting because if GP2
he gets so many steals off of just weird plays. So, man.
Yeah, but that's
another
the thing.
effort. That's another effort guy because he'll go toe to toe with AD. That's what he wants to do. He'll
and
go after AD to try to fight for an offensive rebound. Like, that's insane to me.
And the worst part about that is he was on the Lakers, bro. Come on.
He was on like 9 different teams, bro. You remember that?
Yeah.
He was on like that was a famous thing where he had jersey after jersey after jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, onto the game. It's going to be exciting. If you are on Twitter, please seek shelter. Regardless of who wins this series, it's going to be utter chaos. So yeah, just have a burn just in case. But anyway, take care. Good night. Go Lakers, and hope for the downfall of the Warriors. I'm joking, Zolo, but just saying.
I appreciate you having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I do appreciate you, man, and I hope everybody found this entertaining, useful. If not, just comment below. We're probably gonna do something more like this in the future, or kind of condense it a bit more. But anyway, take care. Good night. It's been a pleasure.
All right, later.